India and the Nordics have seen increased momentum under a mechanism called the India-Nordic Summit. The last summit happened in Denmark, and before that it happened in Stockholm. And similar momentum has been seen with the Baltic states. In fact, India has opened an embassy in Lithuania. And to talk more about the Nordics and the Baltics, with me is a high-profile panel with representation from the MEA, CII, and the Nordics and the Baltic states. Let me start with the introduction first. With me is Sanjay Verma, who is Secretary West. With me is the Ambassador of Finland, Ambassador Kimmo, who has served in the past in Vietnam, Montenegro, Ambassador of Denmark, the Ambassador of Estonia, Ambassador Maria. We have also the DCMs, the DCM of Norway, the DCM Martina Ma'am. With me is the DCM of Latvia, Ambassador Mark. We have with me the DCM of Iceland, Ma'am Christine, and also the DCM of Sweden, Christian, sir. Welcome to WION. And last but not the least, the DCM of Lithuania, Zymantas, who, of course, is serving in his first stint abroad, which makes him one of the youngest in the panel. So let's begin the entire panel with Sanjay, sir. Sir, my first question to you, an obvious question, is how do you see this meeting, the meeting which is going to happen here in Delhi, the India-Nordic Baltic Conclave? How do you see or assess it transforming the relationship between India and these countries?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Siddhant. Namaste to all your viewers. Thank you for this opportunity as a curtain raiser to the second India-Nordic Baltic Business Conclave. Despite all what that is happening in the world, the conflicts, the stresses of economy, etc., business must continue, work must continue. So this second business conclave will see the presence of several ministers and companies from the Nordics and Baltics. So we are trying to suggest that not only is business as usual between some very critical key players, our key partners, but for them to interface, get to know each other.
So let's get in the voices from the CII, the Confederation of Indian Industries. They will be hosting the conclave involving countries of the Nordics and the Baltics later this month here in New Delhi. With me is Kamal Bali, who is the chairman, CII, Southern Division, and also the president and MD of the Volvo Group India Private Limited. Sir, welcome to WION. And my first question to you is essentially what will be the focus during the upcoming conclave that brings together business leaders and governments of India and the Nordics and the Baltics?
Siddhant, thank you very much for having me. Let me start by saying that today we have heads and deputy heads of missions from 5 Nordic states of Norway, Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, and Finland, and from the 3 Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. This is a great step reflecting the keenness, interest, and eagerness to come together for greater collaborations and combine efforts towards the evolution of stronger ties between India and these countries.
What will be the key areas which will be the focus during this upcoming conclave?
So deliberations and meetings at platforms like the upcoming CII conclave offer just the right opportunities to understand and identify areas of partnerships, collaborations, and with innovative solutions to enhance the economic engagements between these countries. Geopolitical scenario by strengthening bilateral engagements for the emerging economic opportunities.
Let me now open the panel to the ambassadors and the DCM, starting with the ambassador of Denmark, Ambassador Freddy. Sir, India-Denmark relationship is seen as a textbook case of how relationship can have increased momentum. How do you assess the relationship going forward between the two countries?
Thank you very much indeed, and namaste. It's great to be here. Of course, it goes without saying that India is an important player globally, regionally, and also economically. And for that reason, of course, we have built up a strategic tie with India. We have the Green Strategic Partnership. And that is about being relevant to each other. India, with 1.4 billion people, have to grow, have to change, have to transform, will come with our inspiration. And we also like to be inspired by India.
So moving to Finland now, sir, my question to you is on the startup front. How do you see convergences between India and Finland in this specific sector?
Thank you. Yes, this is an interesting question because it's just one of the areas that we cover in our cooperation. We have digitalization, education, sustainability and innovation, for example. But innovation includes also the startup scheme, and we have had very good cooperation with the Indian startups, and we have, for example, mentored quite a few of them and shown them the Finnish startup scheme, the possibilities that Finnish cities have on offer, also financing possibilities, and overall whatever is needed for startups to develop and grow. So this is certainly one of very promising areas that we have good cooperation with.
Moving on to your neighbor Estonia, ma'am, my question to you is, in fact, before asking you a question, I'll start by saying when I think of Estonia, I think of a country which is highly digitized. This is a country doing very well in emerging technologies as well. In fact, an MOU was also signed between India and Estonia just last year when it comes to areas like artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. So how are you looking in this area, cooperation with New Delhi?
Thank you. It's great to be here. Yes, of course, ICT and artificial intelligence, these are the fields where Estonia has been rather strong during the last years. And with India, we have a lot of cooperation in both of those, plus also in cybersecurity. We have also a specific memorandum signed on cybersecurity issues. There are many Indian officials who have been trained in ICT questions in Estonia. And also regarding cybersecurity, there are joint cyber exercises. They have been taking place now in 2 years in a row. And I'm really hopeful that the third one is going to take place this year. And one more field where there is more possibilities to cooperate in both fields is the cooperation between maybe universities and different youth institutions to bring it even more on the grassroots level.
So several areas of cooperation. Moving on to Norway, to DCM, ma'am. Ma'am, marine resources are areas where Norway has been taking a lead on. In fact, in 2019, a dialogue started between the two countries, specifically on oceans. So if you can explain on that bit.
Yes, thank you so much, and namaste. Very happy to be here. It's true that the blue ocean economy is one of the main pillars between Norway and India. And in 2019, our then Prime Minister came to India and launched together with Prime Minister Modi the task force on blue economy. And that is a task force that really has a focused and action-oriented approach across the spectrum. Norway is a coastal state, and so is India, so we find common interests and really benefit from collaboration on the oceans.
Well, thank you, ma'am. My next question to DCM sir from Norway. My question is basically on how do you see the relationship going forward? Because we are, I believe, marking the 75 years of the relationship with Sweden this year. So what has been the ups of this relationship, and what do you think are the areas where both sides can cover?
Thank you, Siddhant. And let me start by mentioning how happy we are to meet in this format of India, Nordic, Baltic. The 5 Nordic countries have enjoyed extensive cooperation since the late 40s. And during the last 2-3 decades, this has been expanded also to form the Nordic Baltic Octet, which is in New Delhi complete. The Nordic Quintet is complete, and also the Nordic Baltic Octet is complete, and it gives us great pleasure to meet with India in this format. We meet at a period in time where there is a momentum, which is great indeed. Trade between our countries are at record levels, and business collaboration and investments are at the heart of the India-Sweden relationship and has been for long. Both our countries strive towards making it easier in practice for innovators, startups, incubators, and investors to connect and collaborate.
And Sweden was the first country to host the India Nordic Summit as well, so essentially took a lead in that, and I believe the next one is in Norway. But moving to Latvia, to you, sir, I mean, what we have heard so far is focus on digitization, on how these countries can help India in its own flagship programs like Digital India and all. Your country has had an experience in e-governance, and India is doing at a very fast pace. In fact, just yesterday, the Indian External Affairs Minister, while addressing a diaspora in London, talked about the usage of Paytm here in India, which has gone a record now. So how do you see e-governance as a pillar of this relationship?
Thank you so much, Siddhant, for the question. And also, I'd like to reiterate what others have said. It's great to be together in this NBA format. I think that it's a sign of teamwork amongst our countries, and that teamwork is interesting for businesses. They like to see teamwork, and we have that also in the EU, Team Europe concept. And on your question about e-governance, yeah, I can buy a house, an apartment in Latvia using my digital signature. I would go along with what the Danish ambassador said, that I'd be careful about saying that we can inspire you with our wonderful e-governance. You may also be able to inspire us.
Moving to Iceland, renewable energy is an area where you are taking a lead on. India is also doing that. In fact, India has its own initiatives like International Solar Alliance. How do you see India's taking lead on these issues, and how Iceland can help India in terms of renewable energy?
Thank you. And allow me to begin thanking the MEA and the CII for this ambitious event that will be held here in Delhi. The Icelandic focus will be on renewable energy, and we will also have a specific Icelandic showcase on green energy and also carbon capture. That will be our focus. We have now, like the Norwegian, a task force between Iceland and India, which is doing really well, and we have now 2 projects already here in India on geothermal energy. We work closely with ONGC and Oil India. That's a start for the renewable energy.
Last but not the least, again, Simantas, who is the DCM of Lithuania. Now, one of the biggest things which has happened in the relationship is opening of a mission in Lithuania, an Indian mission. So my simple question, how do you see India upping its diplomatic presence in your country?
Good afternoon, first of all, Siddhant, and everyone who is watching our show, our warm-up show prior to the Nordic Baltic India Business Conclave. So we are really happy to have the Indian presence in Lithuania, which was opened just this year. So Lithuania is really strong in several high-tech sectors, such as cybersecurity, biotech, fintech. This is why we are bringing a high-level delegation to the conclave.
If I were to ask you, what are the 4 pillars of the relationship between India and the Nordic plus the Baltic region? What will be the 4 pillars you will talk about, and how do you assess the relationship going forward?
Well, let me begin by addressing the issue of the format. I think over the last few years, what one sees worldwide, particularly with reference to India's engagement, is increasing engagement with what is called minilaterals or plurilaterals. So in that context, we are very pleased that we have these arrangements. The NB8 can possibly become, with India, a stronger engagement, cutting across both security, foreign policy, political and economic platforms.
Now going to the Denmark ambassador. Ambassador Freddy, you have seen India for a long time. You were in India in your previous stint starting from 2010. How do you place your bets on India?
Basically, I don't see any limits to what India can become. India has moved over so many years. Of course, you will see ups and downs. Nothing is linear in India. But if you look into it with 1.4 billion, I'm always keeping the view that whatever you see in India, you have to multiply that by 1.4 billion. So if even the smallest change when it comes, for instance, to drinking water, a small drop of water being saved, if you multiply that with 1.4 billion, then you see the scale of India. And I also hold this very strong view that if we're going to solve the climate issues, if we're going to deliver on the SDGs, we have to secure that India is part of that equation.
Similar question to the ambassador of Finland. How do you see India as an investment destination? Do you see any issues, any problems, or do you see this to be the next big place to invest here in Asia?
Well, yes, indeed, to be short. And I think it's already incredible how India itself has contributed about 16% of the global growth. So that's an amazing number. And I think also what lies ahead is certainly very, very interesting for Finnish companies. We have a good number of them already here in India, investing here, doing business. And also what we see as very important is to develop deeper cooperation in several sectors, ranging from atmospheric sciences to digitalization, 6G, quantum computing, all kinds of issues where we do have a mutually beneficial expertise available.
To the ambassador of Estonia, ma'am, with investments, especially investments going through routes which are very digital in nature, there comes risk as well, the cyber security risk. What can you give to India in terms of cyber security in this specific sector which involves the transfer of money?
Cybersecurity as such is in our today's world very, very important. It's of course on the political level and on the defense sector, but it goes down to the really people's everyday activities. And it's of course not only about saying how you should do those things. It's about exchanging information between our two countries, because I believe also that we have a lot to learn also from Indian colleagues. And this is what is happening on our common cyber exercises, which we have been organizing now during the last years.
Moving on to the DCM of Norway, ma'am. My question to you is, we all now know it's kind of an open secret that you're going to host the 3rd edition of the India-Nordic Summit. Now, it's too early to talk about the agenda. We're going through an election cycle very soon as well, but it will be happening. The Indian Prime Minister is expected to travel as well as he has traveled in past summits. So what do you think will be the key focus area? What are the agenda points that Norway is keen to put on the table this time around?
Yes, it's true. We are very honored to be hosting that next India-Nordic Summit. It is an established format, a format that we really appreciate very much. The Nordics are amongst the most integrated regions in the world, and we have a lot in common when it comes to technology, innovation, especially in the green transition. We really do have a lot to offer. And we saw from the last summit that our prime ministers, they committed to continue to collaborate on particularly the green transition. And I think, like many have mentioned before, if the world is to succeed with its climate ambitions, then it's really important for everyone that India succeeds. And hopefully this summit will contribute to moving that agenda forward.
Similar question to you, sir, DCM of Latvia. How do you see India's presence in the Arctic?
When I think of the Arctic, I think of the route that's opening up above Russia. We have to think about that, and also protecting the Arctic. And I hope that India will be involved. Just very quickly, to repeat something that's been said, I think we need India to, together with us on SDGs. I keep seeing there's this one family, one planet, but our planet is also kind of a box. We're hemmed in, and we need the brightest minds in India and Europe working to think out of the box.
Sir, we have seen the world going through increased geopolitical tensions. There are conflicts in Europe, in West Asia. We are also calling for reforms of the multilateral institutions. UNSC is something that the Indian side has mentioned several times now. So how do these countries work with India?
Well, Siddhant, it's a mature relationship, and amongst all our partners in the West, and I keep stressing this point, is that the sense we get in our interaction with the respective foreign offices is that they understand the complexities of India, the diversities, and a unique nation-building process, in sort of promoting the democratic ethos. So they understand that complexity. It's not just about business, it's about having an acute acumen into the Indian reality.
And any bilateral engagements planned on the sidelines of this conclave which is going to happen?
I think it's an unsaid protocol that whenever we have multilateral engagements, it goes without saying that there will be bilateral meetings, there will be pull-asides. We like to exploit every minute we have with our foreign guests, and this time it won't be any different. On the Arctic, if I may just come in, possibility of the melting ice caps there, making possible what is called the Northern Sea route. If that opens up, it sort of reduces the traffic time between Asia and Europe by almost a third. And as a country which produces about 14 to 15% of global seafarers, we would be very interested in following that change very closely.
Thank you everyone for coming here at the WION headquarters ahead of that conclave that CII will be hosting on the Nordics and the Baltics. And this is a relationship that is bound to grow. Thank you everyone for coming here at the WION headquarters ahead of that key CII Nordic Baltic conclave that is going to happen here in Delhi. And of course, we will see high-level representation at that meeting.